Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody around the world. Welcome back to the One Piece video featuring your boy, King. Get ready for a very spicy deck profile featuring OP08 here on the channel, let alone a very anticipated one at that. It seems a lot of people are very much excited for this leader, myself included. I've been spamming King, whether it's in sim content, at locals, what have you. I'm very much enjoying this leader, and I stand behind him. If I had the opportunity to take this man to regionals or a flagship event, this is what I would be taking. I feel comfortable enough piloting King that I feel like almost all of my matches I can either go 50-50 or run over, outside of certain decks in the format, such as aggro matchups like Zoro. Yamato's pretty tough. These two, plus red-yellow Sabo, are going to be ideally your toughest matchups in the format when it comes to King. Everything else you can either 50-50 or do well against, like really well against. Now, this is just, again, my personal take, my personal opinion, piloting this leader. I think King is going to need a good pilot behind him for him to see play at a big event, and maybe, just maybe, it's not his time yet. Maybe it's not King's time to necessarily shine, or perhaps nobody wants to take a chance on him at a big event. That's just, it probably is what it is, right? Everybody and their brother is playing Rob Lucci, Blue Doflamingo, Black Yellow Luffy. These are going to be like the top three decks. Jewelry Bonnie, they're going to be all over the place. And people like to play things that have stats behind them, that are winning, that are doing well, and they don't want to take the chance on something else like an off-meta leader and take to a big event. And you guys know this. This is why on this channel here I typically try to give you guys decks that are off-meta or something that maybe is on-meta that has spice to it. You know, you're not going to see a lot of Katakuri here. You're not going to see a lot of Rob Lucci, Sakazuki, for example. You know, Law. You guys didn't see a lot of that content here on this channel. And Nell. I love showcasing decks that are off-meta or meta that have spice. And that's just the way of the game for me. And I do hope King is going to be a very much anticipated deck for you guys. And you are very excited to watch this deck profile. This will be a different take than I normally do here on the channel. I'm going to go as in-depth as I possibly can for my strategies, why I chose certain cards, some matchups statistically, and all that sort of thing. I put out a lot of content here when it comes to King, from sim content to locals content. I do hope you guys are enjoying it. And without further ado, I've missed y'all very much. I do hope everyone is doing well. And take care of yourselves, because being sick is no fun. I've been sick since not this Monday, but since past Monday, all the way up until this point. This is the best I have felt in a long time. So my voice is finally returned. You may hear me like a little bit choppy here and there today, because it's still, you know what I mean? But without further ado, let's get into it. And we're going to start off with 2K counters today. We're going to go from the nitty gritty, from the bottom up, and I'm going to try my very best not to ramble on off different paths. So let's get into this. Hope y'all are ready for it. Now, when it comes to King, I've seen multiple different variations of this leader, whether it's at locals or people just showing deck lists to me. I think King can be built in numerous different ways, similar to Yamato. That's probably why I like this leader so much. But most of the builds that I've come across or played against, or people at locals are playing around with, King has had anywhere between 8 to 10 2Ks. Or sorry, 8 to 12 2Ks. And that typically is something like Kamizo, Black Maria, and maybe like a Husu or a Sasaki. And some decks will run a mixture of these here, pretty much. Now, all of these 2Ks have their uses, and each one of these 2Ks has a use to play on field. The downside in today's metagame, King is a 4-life leader, and he's also a control deck. So you are playing to that late game, right? The downside is you have to survive to make it to that late game. So we suffer with the 2Ks, being a 4-life leader, and we don't utilize very many blockers in King. But in this particular build here, I'm going to showcase a deck in which you can do all of those things and still compete with some of the top decks in the format from just, again, my experiences with this leader. You guys are going to have to play around with him. If you are truly a King main or a King fan or want to get behind this leader, you got to give this build a shot. This is my best variation of King that I've come up with so far, and I do hope you guys are going to enjoy it. Now, King, again, has multiple 2Ks that you can utilize on board. The downside to this is, for instance, you drop a Husu on curve to pop a Pawseplays. You lose the 2K by playing it on board, and then you lose a card in hand by using Husu's effect. Therefore, you lost 2 cards in hand to get rid of 1 card. And then, again, Katakuri, for example, Pawseplays, they get to do the search, right? This is just a hypothetical scenario. Now, being a 4-life leader, you lost 2 cards in hand, which is a 2K and something else, to get rid of a body on board. It's already not looking too great, especially considering you typically are running, again, anywhere between 8 to 12 2Ks. In my variation that I'm going to show you today, we are going to be running 16, in which should allow you guys to get to endgame, to see your big pieces, and do well. Now, a lot of these 2Ks, you are going to be playing from hand on board to get effects off, and I think that's the skill issue that I think a lot of King players have. A lot of King players are playing cards down on board, whether it's a 2K or not, to get value, which is awesome, but at the end of the day, you are getting rid of 2Ks from your hands, therefore, you are losing defenses. Now, Kamazo, or Kamazo, however you want to say it, is a very, very strong 2K counter, right? You will be playing this on board. So I come into building King with that mindset of a lot of my 2Ks I will make use of on field more so than a 2K out of my hands at most times. And Kamazo being one of them. Often not. And a lot of matchups with King, I'm very much looking forward to drawing this card because he does help you out in multiple different situations. And that's not just because your leader ability, you -2 Don, and you can pop something. But you can -2 Don with King, give something -2, then pop a 4 cost with Kamazo, which is really strong. And coupling up with this guy with cards like Ice Age and, of course, Kuzan, make this guy a nightmare to deal with when your opponent doesn't have the removal for it or isn't ready to deal with it at that stage in the game. But I also have to consider, I will be playing this more so on field than a 2K from my hand, therefore I lose defenses. You have to make up for it somewhere. And in this particular build, you are going to make up for it because we are going to be running 16 2K counters. So me particularly, you have access to multiple different purple and black 2Ks that are very, very strong here. And Sanji is another card in which I hope you don't sleep on. Very, very good here in King. Now, you have the option to use your leader ability each and every turn, right? In which I hope you're not doing that. I hope you're only using King's ability when you absolutely have to, or when you're at 10 Don. That way you can juggle and always be on curve or always be on 10 Don each and every turn with Onigashima. Now, anytime you -Don with King, let's say you're at 10 Don, right? And you play down a Jack. For whatever reason, you felt like playing Jack down. So you play down Jack on 10 Don, right? Now you're at 3. Okay? You -2 to either draw a card or give something -2. That way you can pop it with Jack. Let's say hypothetical, okay? You do this. You have 3 Don left over, right? Now you are at 8 Don because you -2. If your opponent's at 10, you play down your boy Sanji for 3. Basically for free, right? Opposed to paying him for 6. So you got a Jack on board. You got a Sanji blocker on board who also can double as an attacker for 10 Don, which is really, really good. Sanji and King, I think this card really makes a home in it because you can just get this on field for 3 Don pretty much at all stages in the game by minusing Don with King or by being at a, less Don than your opponent, which is very easy to do with this leader. So in this deck, I started utilizing Sanji a lot more than some of these other 2Ks that you might see running around here, like Ulti, and for example, some King variations will run the Ulti counter here. And it's great and all, right? It does a thing, but you minus that 1 Don, which really hurts the deck if you don't see Onigashima. And even sometimes you see Onigashima, doing something like this throws you off curve in the late game to get that 9 drop down. And we'll get into that. Considering there are so many different cards that you can utilize in King and do well with, we're going to talk about top end, I guess, like cards that the lower cost cards that are valuable. So like key targets or key things that you can think about or cards to include in this list, such as King himself, for example. I see a lot of lists that are running this, or a lot of lists that are running Queen, and both of these are very, very strong here, but it's going to take a skillful pilot to utilize these to the fullest. So, for instance, playing down a 6-drop King on curve is a little bit easier to do than Queen, because often not, for 5 Dawn, you're playing something else in this deck, opposed to playing Queen here. King, being a 6, is very easy to play down on curve, because you don't have anything else that you utilize in King that you typically play. So, smacking this down and killing something that's a 4 cost or less is awesome. The downside to it, for example, if you already have Onigashima on field, let's assume you do, right? You play down a King, you -1 Dawn, you go down to 5. Awesome. You ramp up with Island, so now you're at 6. You pop something on board. Sounds good, right? So far pretty good. Well, you end your turn. On your following turn, you go up to 8 Dawn, opposed to being at 9. What happens at 9 Dawn? 9 Dawn is your top end. Your top end being your Kaido, your Lin, your other Kaido. These are your top end pieces that really help you just stabilize and or carry a game or get very much ahead of your opponent. And being able to not make it there is what puts this deck behind a lot of the time, by people just utilizing the -Dawn effects, by utilizing the -Dawn effects willy-nilly and not thinking about the late game or the long run. And this is why I said King's ability is very, very good. -2, draw 1, give something -2, but you have to utilize it at its fullest. There are times when to -Dawn in this deck, and there are times when you shouldn't -Dawn in this deck because it throws you off curve. Often not, you want to try to save these effects when you can play certain cards from hand or that are going to be on curve the following turn. You never want to throw yourself off curve because you lose tempo. Now, speaking of Kaido, for example, this particular purple Kaido, I do not utilize him in most of my King variations. A lot of King decks love this card, and that is totally fine. Very strong card, and he does make a home in this deck if you plan for him. And what that means is, if you are not running Black Maria in your King deck, but you are running Kaido, you're hurting yourself. Considering the fact on how these two cards interact, Black Maria allows you to get back Dawn to equal your opponent. So if you have Maria on board, for example, you play down a Kaido, you -5, you use Black Maria's effect to get that Dawn back to stay on equal footing of your opponent, and it sounds great, it's awesome, it works very well together. A lot of lists don't utilize Maria and Kaido, for example. Some decks just utilize Maria for the 2k counter, for the searchability, without playing the top end that does the minus Dawn effect to double dip, if that makes sense. They go hand in hand. Now, there are other cards that pair well with her, such as the 10-drop Kaido and the Lin here. That's typically it when it comes to top end. A lot of people say that Maria has a home here in King, and she does if you plan for it. So if you are running some of the top end that does require you to minus a lot of Dawn to utilize, Black Maria should be included in your deck at that point. But if you aren't running those key cards there, this card does not do anything for you that is going to help you stabilize in the game or gets you ahead by any means. Now, in this particular build here, we are not going to be utilizing Black Maria. Therefore, I don't have to worry about Kaido. I don't have to worry about the ulti or the King, for instance. Now, in the late game, King is something that you can include in your deck to do well with, just because he is able to pop that 4 cost or less. The downside is he also is a no counter card. And this is why I don't include him particularly in any of my builds here, because he has no counter. He throws you off curve if you play king on curve from your 9 Don. And the biggest thing is, again, having no counter. We already run a lot of top end and king that has no counter, but you may argue that we run with 16 2Ks. And that's exactly why we run with 16 2Ks. Because we have so many cards in this deck that don't have counter power. And that's something that hurts king. Not being able to make it to the late game because you guys chose to run 8 2Ks or 10 2Ks is really going to hurt this leader, especially when it comes to this meta currently. Now, you have your other issue with this deck so far. You don't run a lot of blockers, right? Every list that I've come across is either running Queen or what's the other guy called? Apu, right? Because these are both searchable. They're both blockers. They're both Animal Kingdom Pirates. You can both get them out. Awesome. Now, both of these cards have uses. I typically don't ever use Apu. Like, I mean, he's okay, but I'm never playing this man on board. He's normally a 1K counter for me, and I don't like his face. But Queen does have use here. Queen is very good here in this deck, especially when you combo this with Kamazo or anything to get you to draw your big bodies into that late game. Queen is very good at doing that. Some of the synergies involve you having a Kamazo on board, right? You drop an Ice Age, you play down a Queen. Queen gets you to minus Dawn, therefore Kamazo is popping a 7 cost on board, which is really, really good. Queen does have synergies in this deck. The downside to this, most of the time Queen is not searchable, because a lot of lists will run something like the 1-drop Searcher Queen, which often not, for me, I would never utilize to its fullest. I either run 2 of these or none of them, which may sound a little weird to you, but being able to play down a 1-drop Searcher here and not able to search out the 5-cost Queen feels bad, because there will be a lot of times where you'll play a Searcher and you'll draw into a Queen, or you'll draw into a Big Mom, right, or a Kuzan, and you can't grab those. And it happens, I get it, but often not, when you need a blocker, which Queen typically is one of your only blockers in the deck, you can't draw into it with the Queen search. So I think this card loses a lot of value, at least for me, and a lot of leeway for me to want to include this at 4 and or at all in most of my variations of King. Now the other upside to this is this can search out Onigashima and Jack, right? Those are your 2 prime targets, Onigashima and Jack, in all variations of King. The other cards that it can search out are going to be your 2K counters. And considering you're going to be running either Kamazo, Sanji, Black Maria, Ulti, you have targets for Queen to search out for a 2K, but if you already have islands, you lose a lot of value by playing this on board, unless you're trying to be defensive to get a 2K. But again, often not, you are going to be bottom decking a lot of your top end, which you don't want to do. Now, how do you get around that? What other card can you utilize instead of this Queen to get a lot more value? And I think you guys already know where I'm going to go with this, and that is the 1-drop Searcher that you have that came out recently. Where are we? Which just came out in OP07, and now we finally have a home to utilize it in. And in King, this card makes a lot of sense because it does allow you to draw into all of the cards that you need other than Kuzan and Ice Age, of course. You see your Kaidos, your Linlins, your cards that you need to survive into the late game off this one search. Most of the time when you're doing your opening hands and your mulligan, you're looking for 2 cards, and only 2 cards. You're looking for islands, and you're looking for this search. One or the other. This allows you to draw into your island and into your Big Mom, that way you're able to make it into the late game. Or grab your island, that way you're able to just stabilize and be good for the rest of the game. There are certain scenarios where you mulligan and you don't see island, you don't draw into it, and it feels bad, but not as bad as something like Purple Kaido, for example. Now, in King, considering we are running 16 2K counters, it's okay not to start off with Island sometimes. Island really helps you get along, right? It helps you stay ahead. Without Island, it doesn't feel like you are so far behind I can't win, but it feels bad, right? You guys know, you understand. But it's not the end of the world, because you can stabilize with all the 2K counters that you do run, 16, and you can get to that late game by drawing into your Big Moms with your search event, or drawing into your Kaidos with your search event. You have ways to sustain yourselves to make sure you're okay if that you have a rare occasion where you don't see Onigashima. But I digress. Speaking of top end, there is a lot of top end in this deck that has no counter power, being your Kaido, your Jack, your Kuzan, and your Big Mom. All of these cards are searchable outside of your Kuzan with your 1-cost search event. If you are utilizing the Queen Searcher, you cannot draw your Big Moms. Your Big Moms are going to be key to winning a lot of matchups in today's format, being Enel, Rob Lucci, Gecko Moria, Black Yellow Luffy. This allows you to put cards in life, therefore they can't utilize certain key pieces they need to win the game. So i.e., things like Black Yellow Luffy, you drop the Morias in life, you know what I mean? Inside of Enel, you put any card on the bottom of their life, that way they can't trigger a 0-cost event or get something of value, which is really, really good, or keep them at 3 life until you're ready to go for endgame. Mom will always get you out of those tough situations, and this is why I think you must include her in all variations of King. She's a very, very strong card, and I think every single purple deck, at least in today's metagame, can utilize her to the fullest. But hey, I digress. There are certain individuals in which that when you build King, you don't even think about Big Mom. You'll typically use the purple Kaido, which is understandable. But for those of you out there who are interested in trying something a little bit different here, give Lin a shot and let me know what you think about it. She really does help you stabilize whether or not you see Onigashima or not. Being able to heal yourself, remove a threat on board, is very, very good here, especially in King when you guys are playing a control deck that you have to control the field to make it into the late game. Now you may see cards here in this list in which you typically don't see in a lot of King decks, and that's going to be Sabo and Rebecca. I'm sorry, but you can't get away from it. I apologize. In every single black deck you guys are going to come across, you're going to see a combination of these two. And in King, it's no different. Give it a shot before you go ahead and be like, wow, that's terrible, it's not a good idea, Rebecca's not helping you as much. You don't understand. The fact that you can just play down a Sabo in King and protect yourself against every other black deck in the format, whether it's Rob Lucci, whether it's Black Yellow Luffy, any deck that has any KO abilities, Sabo is going to do really, really well against. This helps you combat Rob Lucci. This helps you go against any black deck or any deck that has removal in today's format. Sabo is very, very strong here in King. This is your only 5-cost character that you utilize on curve and or utilize on that 9 Dawn when you don't need a big body on board. Or if you did already play a Lin, for example, or a Kaido, you have the opportunity of the following turn dropping down the Sabo and the Rebecca to make sure that your Lin or Kaido or Jack stay on the field and can't be removed. The Sabo helps you draw into your late game and getting rid of dead cards in your hand, whether that's going to be a Onigashima Island or playing Sabo to trash the Sabo, therefore the Rebecca can get back another Sabo from trash later, is really, really good. And speaking of Rebecca, yes, you will not play down any 3-cost character from your hand. You can tech for it because we do have space. We have 2 slots open in this particular build here. So you can utilize Brook, which Brook is very, very good here. So you can utilize Brook, and you can utilize Hina. Both of those cards can make a home here in King, because you do play them out of trash or out of hand with Rebecca often. In this particular build here, we will not be playing with either or, because I want you guys to experiment with the flexibility here of King. But I have already thoroughly tested both of them, and I do like them both in King. I leaning more towards Brook, just because Brook does have that 1k counter, and he does help out in that regard, but he is a scary card to be able to keep on board. A lot of decks cannot deal with this with heavy removal, unless you swing and then they attack into it, but by that point he's already removed something, which is great. Now, this is just another card that Rebecca can utilize, but often not, she's just getting back Sabo. That way you can just constantly keep doing the cycle. The other card in which Rebecca does have access to getting back is your Husu and Jack. She does everything you need her to do in this deck. You get back Jack from trash when you need to see another Jack on board, or you can get value with Jack. Allows you to draw a 2k counter from trash and or a Sabo to do the effect over and over and over again. Both of these cards make a home here in King, and I would advise you to give it a shot before you sit here and say it's not great, or it's a bad idea, or you don't have a lot of targets. You have many targets that you can pull from. Again, many targets that you can pull from. Now, I haven't played King without utilizing both of these cards. There's never been a game where I don't see them here in the list. I don't get to play them. I always utilize Sabo in every single matchup, no matter what. Typically, I'll throw him away in the early game. For like if your opponent swings for 5 at you, I'll counter out with 1k with Sabo. Great. Because I know that I will draw into Rebecca no matter what. With your leader ability, by allowing you to draw an extra card, and or with Jack on each turn, I'm always able to see my Rebecca. And it only takes one Rebecca to play down to get the Sabo. Because the Sabo will also draw you 2 cards, and you can just keep the cycle going. It's very easy to loop this. Now, there are some situations where Rebecca gets value with things like Gecko Moria, right? Gecko in this deck is not going to make a home. I'm sorry, I don't feel Gecko is very strong in King. This is the only black deck in which I think Gecko is bad in, like realistically. And that's not saying Gecko. We all know Gecko is busted. Like, we all know this is the best card that's ever been printed right now, to be fair. But he makes a home in Rabluchi. Being able to get, like, what was it, 4 bodies? Because you get the Rebecca back, you get a brand new, you get the Spandine, and then you get a Rabluchi, right? That's a lot of bodies. Whereas in decks like Gecko Moria himself, you're typically just drawing back a Searcher and then a blocker. In King, you're going to be doing the exact same thing. You're going to be playing down Rebecca, and then Rebecca is going to get you back either a Brook, a Hina, a 2k counter, and that's pretty much it. Because you don't have the setup that Rabluchi has, where it comes to you drop an Ice Age, you play down Gecko Moria, you do the whole loop, you get the Rabluchi on board, you pop in bodies, right? In this deck, you have to have things on board prior to playing Gecko Moria to get value in that regard. So for example, let's say you have a Kamazo already on board, or Kamazo already on board, right? You drop an Ice Age or Suru, whatever you have here, right? Let's say you have both in hand, okay? You drop Suru and Ice Age, or let's say you drop 2 Ice Ages or 2 Surus. Regardless, you're either minusing 4 or you're going to minus 5 and 2, something of this, right? Great. 8 Dawn left over. You play down Gecko Moria. Gecko Moria gets you back a Rebecca. Rebecca will get you back a Husu or Jack, and then you can play your Brook from hands, if you have them in hands, off the Rebecca effect. You kill a small target, right? You activate King's Leader ability. You minus 2 Dawn. You can give something minus 2 if you need to be able to, combo up with the Ice Age or the Suru. If Kamazo is already on board, you're popping another target. But you see how many pieces you need to do that? A lot. And this has to make it on field before Gecko Moria can get value in most situations. And to be fair, against a lot of decks in today's format, Kamazo is not going to stay on board once they realize the synergy with King. Now there are some decks that don't have heavy removal, like Kagero, Katakuri, unless they are playing with the Nami, the new Nami that allows them to discard a trigger from hand and pop a body on board, which happens a lot more than you think. So even Katakuri has ways of dealing with this. Pudding has ways of dealing with this. There are a lot of decks that can remove this, right? But in Gecko Moria, or sorry, in King, this cannot be gotten back from the trash with Rebecca. You know what I mean? Because it has to be a black card. So unless this is already on board, that setup is going to be a lot harder to do, or a lot harder to get value out of, versus just playing this card in Gecko Moria or a Rob Lucci deck. I have tried it here. I don't like it, specifically because he is another no counter card in the deck, in which I already have top in that gets me value no matter what. So the Kaido, the Jack, the Big Mom. I'd rather play with these than use Gecko Moria and try to do pop one body on board. And that's the other negative to it. Whereas in Rob Lucci, you do Gecko Moria play, you play an Ice Age, and then you do the whole put all the bodies on board, you play Rob Lucci down, you pop 2 targets. Here you're really realistically popping 1 with Kamazo. Yay. Now, the other top end cards that he can utilize is going to be Isho. And I'm not going to hold you. I like him. I very much do. Just often not. I don't find myself utilizing him to the fullest here. And often not. He does make sense when you are utilizing King. Because King allows you to... Where's... Oh, he's purple. That's right. King allows you to... on curve, when you play this, go up to 8 Dawn instead of 9 the following turn. Whereas if you are running Isho, you have an option of playing Isho down in a variation if you are using King, because it'll make sense that way. Whereas if you aren't using Isho here, King loses a little bit of value because he throws you off that curve of 9 Dawn. But if you are using him, you can include Isho into your deck. That way he can be a top in that you have the option to play down on curve, if that makes sense to you, without hurting yourself too much. But that's just my take on that one. I think Isho does do well here. He does have a lot of opportunities to get value. The other downside to it is you have to put that Dawn on him to utilize his effect, which isn't too bad because most of your top end is going to be 9. So you can put the Dawn on him to play the Big Mom down to remove a lot of bodies on board, which is awesome. But the downside is you have to make space for him, which is kind of hard to do. And I feel the way to do it and be okay is to remove the Kuzan. Personally, that's just the way it's going to be. Some people are going to enjoy Kuzan over the Isho, or vice versa. Both of them have a home here. Both of them can work. There's numerous different variations you can come up with both of these cards to make this deck function. In this particular list here, if you prefer Isho over Kuzan, the only way I would include him here is by removing the Kuzan to do so. I'd keep my other top in, and I won't go too heavy on Isho, but this is a way to do it without hurting yourself too much. The Kuzan, on the other hand, allows you to, if you can stabilize with Kuzan on board, you pretty much have the game if they can't remove it. And there are times where, like Pudding can go to 10 Dawn by turn 4 if she plays her cards correctly. You can do that here sometimes as well by double dropping Onigashima, which is nice. But I digress. Now, with this variation of King, this has been my favorite version of him thus far, and the variant in which I've been having the most success with. And I do hope you guys drop me as many comments as you possibly can down there. I will get to them as best of my abilities. So far, when it comes to matchups with King, I put out a lot of different sim videos when it comes to variations of King playing against certain decks. I play King pretty much every local event scene now, and there's been a lot of decks in which I do struggle against sometimes, and that all depends on what I draw. considering we run a lot of top-end cards, a lot of cards that have no counter power, you will end up getting those mulligan hands or those bad hands where you just can't do anything because you have nothing but big bodies. It happens. It is what it is. But in those matchups where you feel it's unwinnable, the decks that I struggle the most against so far with King are going to be Zoro, Red Yellow Sabo, and Kagera. Kagera is doable, especially if you see the right pieces, but Zoro, Red Yellow Sabo, oh sorry, and I forgot Yamato. Those are my toughest matchups. The last matchup that you have to be worried about when it comes to King, when I say worried, it's more so every other deck besides the ones I'm naming right now, I feel like you can 50-50. That's my personal experience. I feel like you can 50-50 them if you are a good pilot on King. The other one is going to be Reiju. No matter what you do against this deck, no matter what it is, she is going to cook you if she sees more than one ETG in the early game. Because you may be able to remove this on curve, which will happen often, and we all know what happens at that point. She just brings it back the following. This deck is very hard to deal with King if they see multiple ETGs on curve, or draw into them in the early game with stage and the ability. Now, thankfully, I don't see a lot of Reijus at my locals. I do have some that play this deck, and they play this deck at the highest level possible. And when I tell you that, my local scene houses some of the best players on the East Coast. And we're talking about regionals and championship winners on a regular basis. I get a lot of testing in with King against these players on a weekly basis. Some of these decks here, when it comes to, like I said, the ones I've mentioned, from my experience, are my toughest matchups going forward so far with King. The other decks in which you would think that you have no business winning, and we're talking like Enel, for example, or Black Yellow Luffy, you can go the distance and do it with King. And it's like I said, these matchups are not going to be as hard as you think, because you guys have the board removal, you have the sustain when it comes to the Big Mom to make it into the late game, to remove their big pieces. The other thing about it is you have the Sabos to go into these matchups, therefore Enel can't pop things down with Yamato. You have the blockers on board. As long as you guys are taking it slow and not just feeding certain decks life, you're doing perfectly fine. Now, there are some yellow decks here or some other matchups that King can struggle into, and that is Katakuri, depending on whether or not you see your removal pieces. I put out a video against this deck recently, at local scene. This is a very, very strong deck in today's format, and it gets even better with the new structure deck. I'm not going to hold you guys and tell you guys King is, obviously top meta or what have you, because we know he's very good, but people don't want to take him to these big events to test him there, so I can't really say that he's going to be the best deck in the format. That's not how it is. Now, King does have really good matches in today's format, and some of these decks that we have mentioned will get better with these new structure decks, and that's like Blue Doflamingo, Katakuri. Katakuri, for example, is going to crop back up here very, very soon once these decks go live. This is a very tough matchup for King if you don't see your removal pieces when you need it. And you have to be removing 10 cost Big Mom on curve, and that's seeing your Ice Age and your Linlin, having that ready to put that 10 cost Mom in life. And if you don't see that in this matchup, you typically will not do very well. You won't do very well, because eventually they will draw into 10 cost Moms to burn you down. Being a 4-life leader, swinging at you for 7k each and every turn with Katakuri, or 9k if you decide to add an extra Dawn, it's very tough. But into those matchups like Black Yellow Luffy, you can grind this deck out with King by putting their Gecko Morias in their life, and or removing their Sabos on play, or trashing them with Big Mom, or sorry, Kaido. You have ways of getting around this leader. The other big deck in the format is going to be Blue Doflamingo and Jewelry Bonnie. Often not, I personally don't have too many issues when it comes to Jewelry Bonnie. Doflamingo can be a struggle, but when it comes to Jewelry Bonnie, you have multiple different ways of dealing with her board. You can get rid of the Eustace Kid, that's not really the issue. The hardest card of getting around is going to be the Basil Hawkins. And you have to be ready for the Basil Hawkins, which is not difficult. You have to see two cards that do it. And that's Kamazo and Ice Age. Or, of course, you can't use Linlin to do it. Linlin will not work due to the fact that how his ability functions. If you're aware of Hawkins and how his ability works, is if this card is removed, you can go ahead and rest one of your opponent's characters instead. So if you drop the Linlin thinking you can just trash it, put it to life or whatever, it doesn't work like that. So you have to make sure all of your characters on board have already attacked, and then have a Kamazo on board, right? You attack in with Kamazo, you drop an Ice Age, you minus the Dawn, then you can pop this with your Kamazo's ability. Considering he's already resting because you attacked with him, you're able to deal with the Hawkins. That's one of the only ways I found successfully that you can get rid of this guy without an issue in Jewelry Bonnie if you're playing King. The other way, obviously, is Jack. You drop the Ice Age, you have Jack on board, you're rested, you kill the thing. The downside to that is they can keep this card rested with Doflamingo. So be mindful of the 10-drop Dofi. Other than that, Jack he's safe. He's a really, really, really good card into this matchup. You have to see Kamazo and Jack along with an Ice Age to make sure that you can remove the big threats on board, being Hawkins. Otherwise, this guy is going to be hitting you each and every turn for 7k. This is my experience so far with Jewelry Bonnie. Now, yours may be different, and I would love to hear your thoughts and your opinions down in the comments below, of course. The other matchup that is going to be all over the place is going to be Blue Doflamingo. I'm sure I have some sim locals or some sim games against this deck. Local-wise, not so much. Not a lot of people play this where I'm at, to be fair. And if they do, I typically don't run into them, which is great. But this is one of those decks where if you don't see the right pieces, he just runs you over. And we're talking removal. And the biggest piece that allow you to do that is going to be Jack and Kamazo in the early game. The Linlin just allows you to stabilize and remove threats on board to put them to life. So cards like Weevil, which has no counter. This allows you to put this to life, therefore you know when you're going for game that life that they're going to draw has no counter power, so you don't really have to worry about it all too much. Kamazo typically is going to hit every card in Doflamingo for you. Once you minus that 2 Dawn, you're popping something. Because if you already have a Kuzan on board, or you're able to stabilize with a Kuzan, you're killing everything in game until he's able to remove Kuzan with a Red Rock, or what have you. The other way, Doflamingo is playing a lot of cards off his leader ability or playing cards on board that are 4 costs or less. In that late game, if you have Kamazo down, you just minus 2, draw a card, and you pop something, right? Great. I think King has some very, 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 very good matchups here in today's format. He does struggle against some decks, but I stand by it. I think this deck is really, really good, and I do hope you guys give it a shot. Let me know what you think about it. Leave your thoughts and your comments down in the comments below, of course, and I'll get to them as quickly as I possibly can. We'll probably dive into like 2 games today. As much King content as you've seen here on this channel, I don't see why we can't just play 2 games and just call it a day. I don't know how long this deck profile has gone on for, but my voice is getting tired. I do have a lot more that we can talk about, a lot more we can go into. But as of right now, anything I did not go over, any cards I did not... Oh, there are some cards. One second. Shirahoshi. I want to talk about that real quick before we dive into today's games. This Shirahoshi particularly, this is another card that you guys should not sleep on here in King. Remember when I told you guys that we suffer with blockers? And this is why we utilize Sanji and or Queen in some variants, the 5-cost blocker Queen. Shirahoshi is a very, very strong card here because she allows you to have a blocker on board, which King suffers with. So you have that option of filling up those 2 slots with Shirahoshi, of course, or the Brook if you guys want to try to get plays off the Rebecca. but you have the option of getting 2 extra blockers here in the deck, which also synergize very, very well with Jack. Considering she is a -4 on one of your opponent's characters on play, which is really, really good. And she can be gotten back from the trash with Rebecca. So, something to keep in mind. This is a very, very strong card here, and I do hope a lot of people won't overlook this one, especially if you are playing King. But without further ado, there's one more card I want to talk about before we dive into today's games. It's not going to be a blocker. I probably won't get any value with him today, but just putting thoughts out there, alright? Garp. I've been playing with Garp as of late here. This is just that flex spot. Again, you can sub him out for whatever you want. I think Garp here is pretty solid, but he is a 5 cost, so we typically don't play him a lot, and we don't draw into him all too much, but when he is in the trash, I can get him back later if I need to with Rebecca, and he's able to pop something to 4 cost or less. If I have Kuzan on board, I'm killing a 9 cost unit with a Garp, which is crazy, because we run a lot of dead cards in hands, so we always have something to pitch and throw away to pop something on board. But either way, we will be diving into 2 games today, and I will catch you guys in a minute. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and dive into some games here real quick. Yep, right off from the deck profile, right into some games. As you can tell, my voice is already starting to go away again. It'll come back, it's fine. We talked for almost an hour, so it is what it is. In any case, we're diving into another matchup here today with King playing into Smoker, in which I am very excited to showcase once I get my hands on these structure decks here. I think I'm going to be taking him to locals, but I think right now my main focus is to be playing Yamato and Edward Newgate along with King here at locals as of late. But without further ado, let's dive into this matchup here. I have a lot of stuff that I want to cover when it comes to these structure decks, and a lot more content that I have to make up for to get to you guys. So I apologize, man. I'm glad I'm feeling better. I don't want no one to feel sorry for me or whatever. I'm not looking for sympathy or any of that. But I do appreciate everyone who's been reaching out to me, who's actually reached out to me and asking me, where I've been and what's going on. Am I okay? I'm fine. I just was sick. I'm glad to be back, and I appreciate you guys for looking out for me, for asking questions. Let's dive into today's video, man. I missed everybody. Now, we are going to be playing against Smoker, obviously, and this is going to be one of those matchups where I got to come into it like I'm playing Rob Lucci. But not exactly. Smoker did get a bunch of new tools, which I think he can do well in today's meta once the structure deck is released. He has access to the Navy package, right? Which typically I'll see the Rebecca Sabo, but I won't see things like Rob Lucci, the 4 costs at Pops cards, because that is a CP. So in this deck, he does have access to Ice Age and the brand new Tashigi, which I'm sure he'll throw at me at some point. And that allows him to remove my big bodies. So like, for example, my Kuzan, right? Kuzan. The Ice Age Kuzan puts him down to a 5. He plays down Tashigi, puts it down to a 4. Does his Smoker ability, -1. Now I'm a 0. So now he gains, 1,000 extra power. And with Tashigi being on board, she can pop something that turn if it's at a 0 cost. So that's a way for them to remove big targets, but they need to see Tashigi and Ice Age to be able to do so, which isn't that difficult because they're both searchable in Smoker off the brand new. So he does have access to seeing all the removal he needs. Now, it's not on the line of Rob Lucci where you can pop multiple bodies in a turn, but Smoker has it consistently. He's able to do it each and every turn if he needs to. And just like every other matchup, we are going to try to control this board as much as possible. And I know our hand isn't necessarily the greatest, but we do have options to play down Kuzan, get rid of the Tashigi, draw 1, sorry, and hope that he doesn't have the removal right away to remove Kuzan. If he does, it's okay. I'm not too pressed about it. I think we'll be fine. But he'll have to use up a lot of his Dawn to be able to do so. So I don't think I'll get an attack from Brand New this turn. Or Sengoku, obviously. But typically I would be worried about the Smoker and the Brand New going like 7 or 8k on my face. And I don't have as much counter as I would like right now. So I think he's going to worry about removing the Kuzan more so than doing damage here. And he has to spend a lot of Dawn right now to be able to do that. 5 to face. I don't mind taking this one, but we will counter out here. Just in case. He doesn't run any rush units, as far as I'm aware. And he swung 5 because he couldn't. I think he probably couldn't afford to attach a Dawn to Smoker to go 6 or go 7. Gecko Moria. This is pretty good here because Gecko Moria can get back to Rebecca and he can just search off with the Brand News. Which in this deck it does make sense because he can just get his removal pieces. And Gecko Moria is still going to be a threat, considering he can utilize it very well here in Smoker. Again, in King, I can't really get back a Brand New because we don't use the Brand New. We're not a Navy package, you know. It doesn't get as much value. So. And now he can play down another one from hand or Brook from hand if he has one with Rebecca effect. Okay, another Brand New. Love to see it. So that means he got a Tashigi. Another Tashigi, and then he revealed a T-Bone. Okay, cool. That's a lot of 2k counters in hand. If he wants to counter, he very much could, but I don't think he's going to. Awesome. Alright, so Kuzan lived a turn. We can drop the Kaido down. We'll pop the Gecko Moria. Nice. Yeah, we'll pop the Gecko Moria here. I'll just get rid of a Husu, because that way I can get it back from trash later on with Rebecca if I have to. Let's see if he throws away a card that we already know he had. Because we saw him pick up Suru's, or not Suru's, Tashigi's. Okay, so Hina. Alright, fair. Okay. 1 Dawn left to play around with. I don't think we should attack here. But, you know what? Let's just go 10k to face. Or 10k to Brand New, sorry. I know it's crazy. We could have probably dealt the damage there, but I don't really care to give him extra cards right now when he has a big hand. Right now, I just want to control the board. And I think if he wanted to remove one or the other, Kuzan is more than likely to go. But I don't think he can remove Kaido. At least not this turn. Alright, so Tashigi comes on the board. He's probably going to Ice Age me. Because now I'm a 6 cost. Yep, there's the Ice Age, makes me a 9. Attaches to Dawn, minus is 1. Alright, so Kuzan goes bye-bye. Which is awesome. Like, that is a really cool combination. And the way it works, again, is going to be the Tashigi is the one that enables it. If anything that's a 0 cost, that's on board. On the turn that she has played, she can activate this ability to discard or trash, quote-unquote, that 0 cost character, which is really strong. You got it, buddy. So we get the Sabo, and that's all I really need here in this matchup. We have Onigashima, so that's a really good card to see here, because that's a card that we can throw away with the Sabo. Let's go 5 to face first. See what he wants to do. We know he has the 2Ks. Yep. Okay. Drop this. It's probably better just to grab the Sabo, that way we have both of them. Normally I would grab the 2K, but I've only seen one Rebecca so far, so just to play it safe. Oh, cool, another Sabo. Awesome. We'll get rid of this for now, because we can get that back if we see another Rebecca. Okay, Suru. I guess we'll just go 10k to face. Considering he already took 1 damage, I think you'd probably block this with Rebecca. Yep. That's cool. Alright, so far so good. We're doing great. We are doing great. You can't KO Kaido because Sabo's ability. And now we just need to chain this back to back to back to back, if possible. Which we should be able to do. Okay, so he plays down a Hina for some reason. I don't know why he decided to play Hina down. Maybe just to have the other body on board, just to attack me next turn, perhaps. But for now, he can't kill anything. Oh, okay. I see, I see. He -4 on the Rebecca, that way he can have an extra 1000 power with the leader ability. I don't know if that was worth it, versus just attaching 2 Dawn to your leader and swinging, but we'll take it. Going 6. I think Sanji probably holds less value, but just in case we need a blocker later. Oh wow, okay. That's bold, man. Might as well just go 7 with her. What are you doing? Alright, fair. 6 at lead. We'll counter this one. Okay. Yeah, I'll counter all of these attacks. I don't want to go down to 1 life just yet, because he is going to be probably attacking me for 8k with leader. So that's the only attack that I can take here successfully. Or we can just go down to 0. Going to 0 is probably not the play, though, realistically. Alright, 8k to lead. You got it. Another Sanji. That's actually pretty good. Thank you. Alright. We got a Garp, actually. Not bad. I think Jack probably holds more value here, but that's still not bad. We're not going to be attacking with Sabo. I cannot play down... Maybe I could. I could potentially play Sabo here. Give everything protection. -2 Dawn. No, I can't do that. I can't. Because he draws me 2 cards, so I'll be at 6 cards, right? Yeah. No, I'll be at the same. Maybe I can do it. We'll see. This should be cleared. And then I'll run Kaido into Tashigi there. I imagine he lets both of these go. Okay, that's 1. You need 4k counter here. I probably should have went 10k, honestly. That way we can just guarantee it. Oh, wow. Alright. I'll take that, man. That's awesome. Thank you. Alright. Now we have 9 Dawn left to play around with here. I think the best bet is just to play down Sabo here. Drawing 2. If only we had 1 extra Dawn, or if only I kept that 1 Dawn here on King, we had a really good opportunity to have Sabo and Sanji on board. But that's okay. Alright, 4 left. We'll go ahead and -2 to draw a card. Okay, Suru, not bad. Not what I was looking for. I was hoping to see another Rebecca, but that's okay. We'll get Sanji down, we'll pass the turn. Not bad so far for trash. I'll take this Kaido. Not trash, sorry. I don't know why I said trash. Alright, let's see. Unfortunately, that was all the Kamazos there. There's 3 of them. Which, in this situation, he could be really, really good. But considering Tashigi is a 5 cost, it's a little bit awkward for me to get off his ability successfully without utilizing too many cards. Alright, another Tashigi comes down. Or not Tashigi, sorry. That was a Tempest Kick. -3 to Sanji, so he's going to remove that one because it does not have any protection here. I think technically what he should do is... Okay, that's fine. And don't kill it, because now you become a 7k when you attach 1 Dawn. But then we just block with Sanji, so maybe it's better to just remove it first. That's fair. Alright. So he's got 3 attacks this turn, at the bare minimum. 6. Or sorry, 4. Math is hard. I really just want to take it, but I don't know what it's going to be. And he has 6 cards in hand. I don't think I can kill him next turn if I take that hit. There might not be a way around it, though. Yep. If he decides to go heavy here, we can choose to block with Rebecca, but we might be okay. 3 Dawn left over. Okay, goes 8k again. Sorry, Becca. Oh, never mind. Appreciate you. Thank you. So another Rebecca just means that we can loop again by getting Sabo on board, which is great. Alright, let's go 9k into this. Just let it go. You don't need it. Just let it go. Alright, that's 1 down. I can't really spend too much Dawn here, so we'll just go 6 into 5. If he lets it go, that's great. But I need 9 Dawn open, that way I can play down Kaido. Or Rebecca. I think Rebecca is probably the better play. Just so we stabilize and survive this turn. Let's do my ability first. Another Sabo. I'm pretty sure that's a wraps. Get rid of Garp here and Jack. Both of them do similar things, except for I think Garp's a little better, man. I really do. I think Garp's a little better. Alright, so we're protected again. There's nothing he's going to be able to do to get around the defenses. Get rid of the Rebecca. 9 Dawn left over there. Or not 9, sorry. He has 7 Dawn. Is that math? No, 8, my bad. Ignore me. Borsellino, Rebecca, stop it. Goodness, that's really annoying. I haven't seen a single Sabo from the opponent, so that's pretty good. It's a good sign. Another 2k counter from the trash. Okay, that's 3 Big Moms. I think we're chilling. We'll put Borsellino on bottom of life here. As much as I would like to put the Tashigi there, it's probably better just to put Borsellino. This way I can slowly start doing damage and going for game. We'll go 6 here first, and if he decides to block it, we'll run Kaido into it. Nice. We'll pass the turn. Alright, so there's an Ice Age on Sabo. Okay, Brook. That's 1 Sabo down. Pretty good. Not bad. Can he get rid of the other 2? Brook requires 3 Dawn. So he can only get rid of at least 1 more card here. Because he either plays down another Brook and an Ice Age or move another one. But that's the only way he can pop it, I think. Because Tashigi does -4, right? Oh, I guess he could do it that way too, if he had Tashigi. Oh, never mind. Ice Age. Brook. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So that's 2 blockers, bye-bye. Now what do you do? Okay, go 7 lead. I mean, there's not really much else I can do, so I'm going to have to block here. Alright. I mean, we're still doing okay, right? We're going to have to play down Big Mom here. Or do the Rebecca Sabo combo again. Playing out Big Mom is probably the better ordeal. That way we can heal a life. at least with the Brooks, he has to don them up to be able to swing. And it seems like he doesn't want to do that. Let's go 9k to lead first. Actually, I should have attacked with leader. That's my bad. Okay, so 3 life left. Let's go 6 lead. Okay, so we got a counter from that. 2 life left. What's in trash here? Okay. We'll just do the thing again. This should allow us to be safe and allow us to go ahead and win the game next turn. Because Brook here is irrelevant, which is great. Get rid of this. And I guess we can just get rid of the Kuzan here, honestly. Okay. Good 7k leader. Interesting, actually. You must not have any cost reduction in hand. We'll go ahead and block out with Rebecca. Gecko Moria into Rebecca. Yep. And into Spandine. I believe that's his name. Or Spandam. Or sorry. Neither one of those. It'd be brand new. Then I think we're chilling. Alright, so he gets another Rebecca down with Gecko Moria combination, which is a real pain in the butt. But I think we're fine. He is running the clock out, which is really, really annoying, but there's not much I really can do here. I think if we can remove the Rebecca during our turn, we can win the game. Because he has 6 cards in hand. We know he has 2 2k counters, right? And 1 Ice Age. He at least has to have 1 Ice Age, I think. Yeah, there's another brand new. Well, never mind. I guess he could have Ice Age, but I think if he had the removal cost, he would have done it earlier. There it is. There's the Ice Age. So 2 2k counters, 1 Ice Age, 3 cards that we don't know. It might be safe to go for game here, depending on what he does in these next few swings. He does have 1 blocker up, but we still have 4 attacks, so I think we just win regardless. We just have to do math and clear it that way. And I probably should have attacked with leader first. That's my bad. So we get the Rebecca. Just trying to get rid of 1 2k in hand here. Oh, he takes the hit. That is alright. Well, good game, buddy. That was weird. I don't know why he decided to take that hit, though. I think he needed to counter out of that one. And then he was able to... He wouldn't have been able to counter out the next swing. So I think regardless, we had the game. It was a weird play by him there. Because now we just go 11 to lead and call it a day. Nice. Yeah, all 4 Sabos was crazy. But to be fair, like we kind of looped them back to back. Come on, buddy. Make up your mind. Nice. Good game, man. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this will probably be the last one for the day. I apologize. Again, normally we don't do this. We play like a lot of games here, but I tried to go into as much detail as I possibly can when it came to the king list here. So that seems to be the longest deck profile that I've done thus far on the channel. So I do hope you guys stay for some of it or half of it or just a little bit of it. I'd appreciate it very, very much. Either way, we're going to play one more match into Doflamingo here. This is coming off of the Smoker game. So this is a very, very tough deck to deal with. But thankfully we did see Onigashima. If we didn't see Oni, it's almost a guaranteed loss. Almost. Just because he ramps up so quickly, it's very hard for us to get down Jack on the turn that we need him to remove bodies on board. But all I really need to see here is Jack, which we already have, We have Onigashima. We just need to find a Kamazo. And then we're chilling. Because Kuzan seems very, very good. Let's be fair. It's just... it's likely that he has the removal for it when it comes to the Red Rock. There's a Kamazo. And an Ice Age. Alright. So we got a removal. And we got removal pieces. We just have to make it to late game. Because right now we only have 1k counter that I can actually... or sorry, 1 2k counter that I don't mind using. And that's the Who's Who. Let's just go 7. Let's go 7 to Moria here. I don't want to, like, overkill it. But if I can get 3k counter here, awesome. I'd rather have taken out the Moria here. But we'll see. And then we'll play down Kamazo afterwards. Or Kamazo. Sorry. If I'm butchering it, it is what it is. It's gonna happen. Okay. Got rid of the Boogie and a Perona. Which, that's pretty good for me. Because his first search, he put everything on the bottom. I would think that he would really need that Perona. That way he can search again and reorganize stuff. But what do I know? Alright, so we get a Kaido off the draw. So he's going to go 7k lead. Gets a Crocodile, bounces back to Perona. Not bad. We get an Onigashima, which does suck. And I don't know why I said draw, I meant life. That's my bad. We have to remove these bodies. Let's go 5 here. Okay, yep, sure. I can't really expend too much Dawn here. I need enough Dawn for the Jack. Nice. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Because all I have to do now is -2 Dawn. I don't get to draw a card, but I can -2 on the Crocodile. And then Kamazo can pop it. Sure. Yep. And then we can rest Jack, draw a card, and then trash Onigashima. It allows us to cycle here. Ramp up, pass turn. So far, so good. We have Jack and Kamazo on board, which is really going to be hard for Doflamingo to remove. Because Jack cannot be removed other than Red Rock here in this blue matchup, or him heavily attacking into it, which is kind of rude. Because we don't have any counter in hand to be able to deal with it. We have all the removal pieces. No counters right now. Which does suck. So that definitely was his best choice of action there. The downside is I have to be able to stabilize. Because we know he runs that one card that allows him just to go through all blockers. So it's a little spooky. We do get the heal here. So Linlin is going to allow us to get to that point, I think. Let's go 6. Gives me a 2k. Alright, 5 cards left in hand. We're looking pretty good. It may seem dire, but we are looking pretty good. He takes 1 hit. He takes 1 hit, which isn't too bad. 5 here. I can't let that happen. Interesting. Yep, Red Rock, sure. Probably a Jinbei, yep. That boa is really good. That is a really good card. The downside to it is it's a 4 cost, so again, against King here, he doesn't hold a lot of value. We might be able to remove both of them, actually. We have the Ice Age, we have the Kuzan. Kuzan can actually pop the boa, and then Jinbei can be removed with Kamazo's effect. Or we can do this in so many different ways. We'll -2 Dawn here. -2 on this. We'll pop them both with Kamazo's abilities. We have 5 Dawn left to play around with, which I guess we just go attacking with, to be fair. And I don't think there was any other way to do that there. I guess... no, I don't think we could have. I don't think we could have. Because we had the -the Dawn with the leader ability. I mean, we might have been able to play down the Kaido to kill one of them and get him to trash a card, and then use my ability and the -2 on the other one to pop it. Something we could have done. Because then he'd be at 3 cards instead of 4. That was probably the better play, now that I think about it. Oh well. You live and you learn. But now, he has to remove both of these bodies on board. Unless he has double Gravity Blade, or sorry, a Gravity Blade, I think we're chilling. Okay, 7 here. That is fine. Weevil, Jinbei. I need to clear these off board. Somehow. Okay, another Boa. He's actually building a board here. What should we do? I think we have to play Kuzan here. We have 2 life. We're kinda comfortable, I think. Because Kuzan can remove the Weevil or whatever. And then I can use Kamazo to remove the other one. 3 Dawn open. We got a Sabo. If I play Sabo, it's a little bit too safe. So I think this is still the best action. No, pop that. It doesn't matter which one I get rid of, because Kamazo is going to get rid of the other one. We can draw a card here. Nice. Pop this. Having that 2k counter off the draw is huge. We'll just go 5 here, then 5 here again. That way we can get his resources. Awesome. Let's go. So 2 cards left in hand. We can actually go for game very, very soon. Because we have the Kaido to remove whatever we need to, especially when it comes to blockers at some point. 9 at face. I wonder if he's just going to gung-ho it with his leader. I wouldn't think so, but it's a possibility. He's going to do it. 10k lead. Alright. Get another Jinbei down. Nothing to play in hand. So that tells me he has events. Or it's probably like, or it's a pudding in an event. Or both events. It's a little bit too late now. If he has another red rock, he has another red rock. Get rid of that. Just in case, right? I need the counter here. Because we know his other card is an event. And if it's not a red rock, because if it was a red rock, he'd probably played it earlier to remove the Kuzan. I have to assume it's the Diable Jinbei card for blue. So we'll get rid of the cards that don't have any counter here. We'll get rid of Sabo. Just in case, that we can make use out of the Kaido. Move this. We'll go 5. Wow, look at me go, man. He had to put a... That's crazy. Alright, so the other card is an event. There it is. So it's 15k at my face, which we have the counter for. Anticipated. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. This is the part where he probably just disconnects or leaves the game. At least I hope not. He played really, really well. He was ahead of me for a lot of the time until we were able to draw Kamazo and just take control of the game. Being able to just play nothing but 4-cost bodies on the board is very easy for Kamazo to deal with, so. And then we just go 15. And good game, buddy. It was fun. Well played. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the end of today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was a long-awaited video, so I do hope it's going to deliver and do very, very well here. It probably won't because it's been a while since I got an opportunity to post a video. But again, been sick, YouTube algorithm and all that sort of thing. So if you guys could do me a huge favor, please like the video, drop comments in here. Let's get some interactions going. The usual. I'd very much appreciate that. Thank you for everybody who decided to come over here and watch this very, very long video of King today. I had a lot of fun doing it. I do hope I got a lot of points across. There's so many different things and so many other things that I probably haven't said or didn't get around to doing so. So drop all the comments down there. You guys have questions about the leader or different interactions with other cards. Should I try this in King, etc.? Let me know, because I will definitely go over it with you guys and give you my 2 cents or my best opinion, whatever you want to call it. Either way, I had fun with this one today. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. I can't wait until OP09. I am going to be diving into some Edward Newgate and Blackbeard. Those are probably going to be some of my most played decks in OP09. I'm very much interested in Blackbeard due to the fact that I feel like he hasn't really performed to the level where we all thought he was going to. And I think he actually can do that. I think he's very, very strong. And I think it's going to take a good pilot to crack the deck. And I know there have been some lists that have won some big events, just not as much as other decks in the format. You know what I mean? And I think this deck will be do very, very well. And I would like to play him. Although Teach is one of my favorite characters in the anime. So I'm sorry if you're not a Blackbeard fan. He's not up there with Doflamingo for me, but he is going to be a lot of fun. Now, in OP010, which is right around the corner as well. Or sorry, not OP010. OP09, my bad. We have a lot of fun leaders that are going to be coming out. And I am looking forward to some other ones. Mainly Robin. So Blackbeard and Robin for me. Luffy is kind of, he's good, but he's not for me, man. Blackbeard, Robin, these are going to be the 2 decks I'm most interested in. So you will see a lot of content coming from both of these decks here on this channel. And I would consider Robin to be not top meta as some of the other decks, but I'm going to have a lot of fun playing this one, that's for sure. And I will be doing playmats for Robin and Blackbeard. My designer is definitely going to be doing some very, very good ones here. Either way, when it comes to King, this is going to be my best iteration for the deck so far. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. This has been Pawseplays. Please hit that like button. Make sure you're following if you guys aren't already following. And if not, why aren't you following? Tell me I suck down in the comments. I'll catch y'all later. Enjoy the rest of your day.